On May 2nd, get ready to escape. Isis, Escape from Transylvania. The goddess next door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and e-readers this May 2nd. Whenever women are allowed to take control over the social environment of a workplace, they become gatekeepers over that workplace. And when women become gatekeepers over a workplace, they decide who can come into the workplace and who can come out of the workplace. Moreover, the gatekeepers decide what work gets done in a workplace, and when it comes down to the gatekeepers will decide what meets their emotional needs is more important than what meets the economic needs of a business. And when you have gatekeepers in control over a business, it no longer becomes a business, it becomes a fiefdom. And when you have a fiefdom, the fiefdom is all about meeting the emotional needs and sating the egos of the small group of women who have taken over the social environment, and not about providing products that meet the economic needs of the business or meet the needs and the standards of the customer. And a textbook example of a fiefdom right now is Marvel Comics. Now, Marvel Comics, when it was founded back in the days by people like Stan Lee and Joe Simon and many others, this was a company that was all about providing entertainment to children with superheroes, teen comics, and other comic book related products. And these comic book products, they were published to sell to audiences all over the world. However, over the last couple of years, as a small group of women have taken over the editorial department at Marvel Comics, the company is no longer objectively focused on creating comic books that entertain readers all over the world. It is all about sating the egos of those females and meeting their emotional needs. And this is why many in the comic book industry call Marvel Comics SJW Marvel, because instead of the company being focused objectively on meeting the economic needs of its parent company Disney and creating products that satisfy all of the readers who are interested in superheroes like Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, and many other superheroes, we're getting comic books that are designed to push some sort of political agenda that is allegedly supposed to be diversity and allegedly supposed to be about making everything fair, but it's all actually about meeting the emotional needs of a small group of white women and creating products that make these white women feel good about their paternalistic view of the world. Because anyone who critically and objectively takes a look at the products that they publish, really, they take a look at many of the books that they have published, and they clearly see that there is no sort of standards as related to the books that they publish, and that many of the books that they publish are of such poor quality that it's all about their feelings and not about creating a product from an objective perspective that satisfies the readers and entertains the readers, because it's all about how they feel and not about serving the customer and providing them the action-packed entertainment that they want. And this is what happens when businesses become fiefdoms, because in a fiefdom, again, the fiefdom is all about the feelings of the people in the small group and meeting their needs emotionally, and not about serving the needs of the customer. And this is why fiefdoms really don't last long in the business world, because when you have a fiefdom, what happens is the customer has control over the money. And if the customer does not see a product that entertains them or meets their needs, if they have to use it for something, they stop buying the product. And that's why Marvel Comics has gone into a free fall in terms of orders from comic book stores and a complete decline in profits in their publishing division, because the females who have taken control of the social environment at Marvel, they have this fiefdom where they are publishing comics they like, but they're not publishing comics that their customers want. And because they're not publishing comics their customers want, their customers aren't buying comic books. And this is hurting the entire comic book industry, because many comic shops rely on sales of Marvel comics to drive the sales of other comics and other comic companies like DC Comics and small independent publishers. Because people go to buy the Marvel heroes, and then they go out and buy DC heroes, and then later on they may try out indie books that are in the comic book store. So it's a ripple effect that is being impacted on the overall comic book industry due to this small group of females controlling Marvel Comics' social environment and creating this fiefdom that meets their emotional needs but does not understand the overall long-term impact on the overall comic book industry. And what's really sad about this fiefdom is that they have really literally destroyed the opportunity for the overall business at Marvel, as related to their publishing division, to capitalize on one of the greatest opportunities to bring comic books to a new generation of readers. With many comic book fans being made in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there was an opportunity to get new readers of Marvel Comics. However, due to this small group of females in this fiefdom, that opportunity has been lost due to the fact that they're all about meeting their emotional needs and publishing these books that make them feel good, and not trying to capitalize on the economic opportunity to make profits on movies like Black Panther, which have made $1 billion, Avengers, which has made $1 billion, and many more movies which have made household icons and brand names out of second and third tier characters like Iron Man and Captain America and Thor in the eyes of an entire generation of young children. The opportunity was there to reach an entire new generation of comic book readers, but because this group of females took over the social environment, the economics weren't focused on, and there was no plan to try to capitalize on that at the comic book store, or any efforts being made to try to fix the distribution system so that comics could be sold in other venues outside of bookstores like supermarkets, Walmarts, Targets, and other retail outlets. No plan was made because we had this group of females who took over the social environment and made it all about their agenda and their feelings, and not meeting the economic needs of the business. And this is why having fiefdoms is dangerous, because fiefdoms are all about people's feelings and what they want out of a business, and not providing what the customer needs in a business. Moreover, when it comes down to fiefdoms, fiefdoms aren't about standards. And when I take a look at Marvel Comics, standards have truly declined at Marvel due to this fiefdom being in charge at editorial and them controlling editorial, because instead of them hiring qualified individuals, grossly unqualified people are now taking over positions at Marvel, and they're out here publishing comics of the poorest quality. And these poor quality comics, they are destroying the reputation of the brand, and they're destroying the image of the brand. But it makes the people in the fiefdom feel good, because they get on social media arguing with people and believing that they're so great. But what they're doing is they're doing devastating damage to an industry that has been in a slump for 20 years and is now on the precipice of collapse. Because when you have a fiefdom, what happens is fiefdoms cannot survive in an economic system. In an economic system, you have to provide goods and services to customers that meet their needs, because if you do not provide goods and services to the customer, you cannot have profits that allow you to stay in business. And many of these women in the fiefdom, they believe because Disney has long dollars that they'll continue to support the fiefdom. But eventually, what's going to happen is if there are no retailers like comic book stores to continue selling comic books, then there is no place for them to continue working. And this is what many of these, what they call SJWs, don't understand about economics. We had 50 comic book stores close last year, and 10% of the market evaporated. And when you have your market evaporating and venues for the sales of your product closing, what happens is you're not going to have much of a marketplace to sell your products in. And if there is no marketplace to sell your products in, then you're going to be out of a job. And this is what happens with fiefdoms overall, because when it comes down to fiefdoms, they cannot sustain themselves for much longer. Because I've seen these type of fiefdoms in academia with the public schools, and I've seen them in the college system. But the only reason why they survive in academia and the college system is because when it comes down to those fiefdoms are usually supported by government dollars. But in a capitalistic economic system, fiefdoms just can't survive because you need money to come into the company in order to make profit. And when you're in a business like publishing, which has a razor-thin profit margin, what happens is that business winds up dying because you have lost the ability to make profits. And Marvel Comics has really, if you've lost 10% of your market share, you're really starting to declining, because once you start losing significant percentages, that means you're going to lose more and more of your market, and what will happen is there will be no place for you to sell your products. And when I look at the products being produced at Marvel, they are of the poorest quality, and these editors show me that they have no real vision for the types of comics they want to publish, or even an understanding of audience for comics. Because when I looked at Gail Simone's Domino #1 as part of Marvel's Fresh Start, it showed me that they really have no understanding of how to create a comic for an audience, or even how to target a comic at an audience. And this is one of the big problems as related to fiefdoms. It's all about their feelings and not about the business of creating products for a customer. And fiefdoms, they always fall apart, because when it comes down to the women who run fiefdoms, they love having power over the business, but they don't like taking responsibility. And when it's time to take responsibility to get the business out of a jam, that's when many of the women in the fiefdom decide to quit, and they decide to leave people holding the bag. And that's why it's important for a manager, if they own a business, to never let a fiefdom take control, and never let women take control over the social environment of a workplace. Because if females take control over the social environment of a workplace, then it's going to destroy your attempts to get productivity out of your employees. Because instead of people being focused on the mission of the organization, they are focused on their feelings. And oftentimes, when you're trying to get tasks done, it's all about how one employee feels about another employee, or whether they like that employee, and not about getting the work done. For example, Sally may not like Molly, but you may need a report from Molly in order to get your work done. But because Sally doesn't like Molly, you have to go around Molly and go to Bob in order to get your work done. And that really slows down your productivity. And the only way to deal with this situation is for a manager to assert formal authority and make Sally and Molly work together, or fire both Sally and Molly, or fire Sally or fire Molly, in order to get work done. Because it's about you getting your work done and you meeting the economic needs of your business, and not dealing with the emotional issues of these females or their beta male supporters. Because whenever you have a fiefdom being formed and cliques being formed, it's all about them and not about your business. And that's what happened at Marvel Comics. It's all about these so-called milkshake girls and not about the business of Marvel Comics. And that's why they need a strong editor-in-chief to come in and bust up this clique, because if you don't bust up the clique, they will destroy your business, and then once they've destroyed your business, they will say it's your fault, and it is your fault because you did not assert formal authority on those females, and you did not impose standards on them, because instead of them following the lead of the managers there and meeting the standards of the business, you let them take control, and they're now all about meeting their needs and sating their egos, when a strong boss has to say, look, it's all about you meeting the mission of this organization, meeting the economic needs, because you are being paid to do the work that I need done, and you're paid in order to create profits for the business. And that's not being done at Marvel Comics, because Marvel Comics is no longer a business. Marvel Comics has become a fiefdom, and the fiefdom is all about meeting the emotional needs of that clique of women, and not about meeting the needs of Marvel Comics and providing quality entertainment to its readers overall. That's why so many readers are now reading other comics, or they're just leaving the entire comic book hobby and finding an entirely different medium to find some way to enjoy themselves. And that's all due to this fiefdom, because when it comes down to fiefdoms, fiefdoms are small insular spaces that are all about the emotional needs of that small group of people, and all they do is they cut off businesses from the rest of the world and cut them off from meeting their economic needs, their economic goals, or making profits overall. And this is why a boss, when they're out here, a manager, has to bust up fiefdoms and bust up cliques, because he has to make sure that he gets everybody focused on the bigger picture and focused on the goals of the organization, because that's what leadership is supposed to do. But we're not seeing much leadership as related to editorial at Marvel Comics, because instead of the leaders like C.B. Cebulski and Joe Quesada leading Marvel Comics into the 21st century, they are following behind the females in this milkshake clique, and this clique is destroying Marvel Comics, because they're not looking to lead, they're just looking to have fun at this business, and you don't have fun at a business unless you are making money for that business and creating new markets for that business to make money. And that's not being done at Marvel Comics, because this group of females wants to go and create a so-called diversity campaign, but their diversity campaign is all about paternalism and alienating people, and not trying to build bridges to reach new readers of the 21st century. The only solution when you have a fiefdom in place is management has to assert formal authority, management has to be strong leaders, and they have to let everybody get back on the front page and the main page and the mission of the organization. And if people don't want to be a part of the business, then they can leave the business, because what happens is, if you don't bust up a clique, the business no longer focuses on the mission of the business. It focuses on the social currency and the social situation, when a business is supposed to be all about meeting the economic needs of itself and providing products to its customers. Marvel Comics, as I see it, they need to get somebody in charge who can get back focused on the economic needs of the business and not the emotional needs of a group of people who believe spending their time arguing with customers on social media is more important than trying to sell comics to the next generation of readers. If you'd like to try some of my SJS Direct publications like the ISIS series, the East-Team series, The Temptation of John Haynes, and the Smith Torella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. And if you want to try to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.